Sewenhniseriióhak. In this capsule today, I have a couple of things to talk about. I wanted to start right away. There's documents that are going to be sent your way very soon, possibly next week. These documents include the work that were done over a series of years through council. I think protocols, laws, procedures that are very important for the future of this community. Now, it's not limited to these documents. We still got a lot more work. But some of the documents you're going to receive, one is the protocol and ethics of the council. And then another one, the protocol of consultation. We know that protocols of the council are basically laws, or they are rules and regulations that chiefs must follow. This has passed the council twice. First, the previous mandate, chiefs wanted to review it, make changes, and I said, okay. So the time it took for that, the document kind of went to the wayside. So we moved on. The next election, the document comes back up for ratification by council. And again, the same problem. We want to review, we want to revise, and again, the document was put to the side until that was done, which was never done. The other one was the consultation protocol. How does the community want to be consulted? We need to put this to rest. Every time we have a consultation of any sort, it always gets challenged somewhere down the line that, either a person wasn't advised of this vote or they didn't agree with the way it was done. So if we make this into a consultation protocol or a consultation law, in the future, this is the way we're going to conduct these consultations. Now, what do you use in consultation? You want to use social media? Do you want to use website? Do you want to use radio? How about using them all? Okay, put it in the protocol. And how do you establish a decision-making process that would make sure that as many participants of the community are able to voice their opinion, their agreement or disagreement on any given law, protocol, or process? There's another part of these documents that I find is very important to mention. We've been in this pandemic now for about a year now, over a year. And I've had these groups for some time now going out accusing me that I didn't want to consult with the community over various issues. Also accusing me of using COVID as a convenient excuse not to. Well, my answer to that is I find COVID very inconvenient. I took a decision that consultation under COVID presented too many limitations for our band members. So what was the main priority for me? Consulting or the health and safety of my community? Well, as you can see, I chose the health and safety of my community. So all my energies, all my efforts were geared more towards that, while still trying to address some of the administrative responsibilities I have. This group doesn't seem to care. They seem to want to promote their agenda and possibly position themselves for the next election, for all I know. I really don't much care. These guys took advantage of the pandemic and trying to tell people, look at how rotten the Grand Chief is. He's hiding something. It would make my life so much easier if I were able to start these consultations. It would have been a lot easier. Instead, I brought on all this extra pain by focusing more on your health than on what I'm presenting you here today. But we've come to the point where these documents, you need to get these documents in hand. It's not a political ploy. It's to show you that work was done. It was ready to go to you. And we're hoping that whoever gets in the next council, you're going to hold them to these documents. If you think cannabis laws are important to you, then make sure that they focus on it. when it's safe to do that. Just because we're seeing vaccines doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. So anything here, policing proposal, hold the next council accountable to the next steps of implementation. And that's all really that needs to be done. So you'll be receiving these packages shortly. And I hope you look favorably on them. And if you want to see changes, they're your documents. We'll jot down the changes and pass them through certain focus groups if we can do that. And the next step is everyone's going to come out and make a decision on them. So, there's another problem I faced with these documents. I sent an email a while back to all the chiefs, and I got 2 responses back, which is what I found absolutely ridiculous. Mostly from Chief Victor Bonspiel. He did not want me to send these documents to you, claiming that these documents are in their infancy and that he needed to review them. The fact is that he's had some of these documents for more than 3 years and hasn't taken the time to review none of it. So I'm hoping that you see that sometimes playing political games is not in the best benefit of our community. And we're going to do this job together, with or without members of council. But these are your documents. It's your future. It's our children, our grandchildren, and theirs. So the consultation you're going to receive is very important. You also have the membership laws, and we know here the membership laws often become contentious. It really brings up a lot of passion in people, but we can't ignore it any longer. Kanesatake needs to put its own membership law, decide for itself who is a member and who is not. And if you're coming to our community, under what conditions will you be accepted? So there's a lot of decisions being made by the courts for us, and the federal government imposing the solutions on us. It doesn't help us. It helps the federal government when it comes to membership. And keeping the membership as confusing as it is now helps the government, not us. So we have here the cannabis laws. This one was a little difficult on how to approach because, one, we don't have a policing service in the community. And I know there were a lot of people at the beginning were saying, we want to get a permit from council, but council did not have any process by which they could give any such permits or sell permits to potential industry owners. So that brought us with a big problem. Again, federal government, provincial government would not allocate the proper resources so that we could start regulating and doing things the right way so that it's fair for everyone. So that's why the cannabis law is there. We have as many as some 30 cannabis shops now and more to come. We also have the problem with grow-ops. Certain members want to do grow-ops, and who knows, maybe in your neighborhood. We got to determine for ourselves where these activities can and cannot be done. So what we see is a lot of big problems coming, and we can't ignore the fact that the cannabis industry is there, and we, I think, need to adapt to it. And we need to vote on this and see how do we make it fair for everyone. Because as you know, the cannabis also comes with more land grabs. People are still grabbing lands that belong to the community as a whole, saying they're going to give back to the community, although we get no firm plan on how that's going to happen or how much. So you see there's a lot of questions related to that new industry. And also, who's coming here and who's financing it? I could tell you stories, but I think it's a little too risky at this point. But you get the idea, right? Most of you see it. Well, okay, enough of the cannabis law. Now, the policing proposal here, this one too. Many community members, I know, I'm like you, I'm fed up with having the SQ not doing its job. But then again, do you invoke the SQ to come in to do its job? It leaves us with a bit of a, I guess, a paradigm of sorts, because you want to have policing. You don't want the SQ. When the SQ do act, when they're called in, there's usually a lot of problems coming with that. Okay, so policing has become highly political. So we talked about this in the document, as you'll see when you read the document, that we're not going to establish any kind of policing service here like the last one. And I think you'll like the way it was constructed and the intent behind it. It's not to bring in a policing service here that's going to come in with all guns blazing. Myself, I really don't want to see that. But the community needs to feel secure. We need to be able to walk on the roads or drive after dark in our community without fear of getting into a fatal accident. So we'll move on with that as soon as we can. We have other things that we're working on right now. We signed a resolution the last council meeting mandating KHC to begin the process of taking over child protection. Okay, another big job on the horizon. Again, fighting for the resources to be able to do this adequately. You know, we got to look at every part of child protection, like foster parenting, any Mohawk family, whether here or Niawenhkó. A child in crisis has to be taken care of and put in the right home, but they have to be put into they need to be remain in the nation. No more of our children would be taken away from here. So that's another big job to do. But again, a lot of these things I'm telling you today, you'll look in these documents and you'll see the reasoning why policing is becoming such a vital service for our community, because it really touches on all I've spoken about so far. You look at the land claims, all land issues pertaining to Kanesatake, it's always been a contentious thing. It's even brought us into a war. I don't want to see that again. I think there are ways that we can acquire lands in the future, and the processes don't have to necessarily be under Canada's processes. And I have a document right now, at the risk of being accused of breach of confidentiality by the government, despite that they sent me, the Sub-Minister of Indian Affairs sent me a letter saying that there was nothing in the confidentiality agreement that would keep me from informing my community members. All right, but that's still not a guarantee that once this begins, that they won't see this as a consultation. So you'll see in the documents that I'll present to you, I'll send you Canada's version of what a release in exchange for compensation is. And next to that one, you'll see work that I had begun some time back on changing areas of that release that would better reflect our historical positions and the historical breach, and what do we want to see in return. Because a lot of people have said this to me many times, you know, money can just disappear. The land is forever. Fair enough. But the land is forever as long as we take care of it. And again, we got to look at land laws. How do we distribute them? How do we use them? Some have argued this is municipalization. I'm sorry but I so fully disagree with that. Our people have been using land planning since time immemorial. I'm sure I could envision, like you, our ancestors looking at their territory. Okay, this area over here, this is our hunting grounds. We won't plant corn, bean, and squash or tobacco in this area. We'll do it over there. What about our village? Where do we put our village? Oh, you know what? There's a good spot down here. I think we could use this and we could start building our longhouses and our fortifications over here. So land planning, land use planning is not a white concept. It's been around for a long time. I think we got to put those silly misconceptions aside and we got to start moving ahead for the benefit of everybody so that it's fair for every Kanesatake and every child that's coming. So you'll see in the documents with the land claims, Canada's version is basically the interpretation of that document is them washing their hands of the whole affair and walking away. If anything, that crown, no matter what happens, the crown will be sitting there with us when we repatriate our lands, because I'm not dealing with the municipality when it comes to bringing back our lands. The federal government and provincial, if they want to deal with them, that's their prerogative. I'll deal with the federal government and I'll reluctantly deal with the provincial when it comes to certain matters of land repatriation. But in all, the main responsibility belongs to the federal crown. And after all, we don't have any treaties with Quebec. So let's hold the treaty holder, the treaty partner, to their responsibility. That's what this is all about. You'll see some of it in my changes that I've made. The rest of the document I did not go completely through because it's a lot of legal terminology. I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. And I was planning on getting some information from our lawyer, but unfortunately our legal expert had some health challenges lately and we never really got around to going through the rest of the document. So I'll give you what I already have now. It'll give you an idea in the area where I was going. Take, for example, I'll give you one example of the changes. I'm sure you'll agree. The federal government says, we are going to compensate for the loss of use of the small commons. I started thinking about it. Loss? I don't agree with that word. Because if I accept the word loss, I'm accepting that the lands are gone. They're gone. Nothing more I can do about it. But I don't agree with that at all. The lands are still there. The opportunity of coming back to the small commons is there. And I just wanted to change it to the denial of use that led to the loss of benefits to our community. Those benefits can be reestablished at any time. So you'll see in the document, some of these changes may not seem like much, but they have a big impact on the document as a whole. So we'll have more discussions on that once you've read it. We should have it online by next week. One last topic, the vaccination. The vaccination we had March 23rd in our community. We had 4 days of vaccination. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 5 days. And during those 5 days, we vaccinated about 700 members of our community, about 250 members of the Mi'kmaq Nation. And I just want to say thank you, Niawenhkó, to all of you who came out, put your fears aside and got vaccinated for the rest of us. And the Mi'kmaq leadership, the Gaspég, Listigush, Gaskapidiag, I appreciate you participating with us in this cooperation. And now we're going to include, proudly include, the Innu Nation. There are approximately 150 Innu that are living within the island of Montreal. And these poor people had appointments at one point to go to some CLSC or clinic to get their vaccines. But we're told when they got there, all their appointments had been canceled. So suffice to say, they were really disappointed. Then they looked for another way. Where can they get the vaccines? And the regional chief approached me and asked if it was possible to include the Innu within our infrastructure of vaccination. Now, I proudly said, yes, of course. Like the Mi'kmaq, anytime there was something at the Quebec table, any issue, Kanesatake needed support, the Innu chiefs and the Mi'kmaq were always there. And so Ghislain Picard, regional chief of the Quebec table, approached me and asked if there was a possibility of doing the same collaboration with the Innu living in the island of Montreal. And I told him I would be very proud to bring this to the ERU. I don't think they'll have a problem with it. So with the ERU's help, it became a possibility. And I was proud to relay the yes to the regional chief. And now with the chiefs of the Innu Nation. I had a conversation with one of the chiefs yesterday, chief and good friend Jean-Charles Pietachot, who was extremely moved by the offer to do this. So his members won't have to worry. We will bring them down here. We'll provide busing, probably pick them up at the Montreal Friendship Center, and we'll bus them down to Kanesatake for their vaccines. And I know there's a lot of people out there that got angry because we included the Mi'kmaq in the last vaccination. I don't quite understand that way of thinking. I think First Nations should support each other wherever they can, and this was an opportunity to do just that. So now we're going to do it with the Innu Nation. You have to realize that the vaccines that we are distributing right now, okay, don't come from our supply. They do temporarily, but there's an understanding with the commission here, the Health Commission of the Lower Laurentians, that whatever is used by the Mi'kmaq, when the Mi'kmaq Nation in their area get their vaccines, they'll simply replace the ones that were used here. And the same with the Innu. When the Innu get their vaccines, they'll simply trade with this region's vaccinations that we used with their people and just simply replace it. So it's a win-win. We don't lose anything anywhere. And it really puts Kanesatake in that light of having a bigger heart, of being able to do this for people. We're helping to save the lives of other First Nations. And for that, I'm proud of Kanesatake. I'm proud of the ERU. I'm proud of everyone that's worked on this. It's been an incredible effort. Throughout over a year of going through hell, basically, we're slowly coming out the other side. And it's a lot thanks to you too out there. Everything you've endured, the protocols you've followed, you've made sure that this virus did not spread throughout our community because you wore your mask, you washed your hands, and you came out to get vaccinated. Okay? All we did was we laid the groundwork for you. So now I'll go out to all of you. So we're going to move on. And next week, vaccination will take place again. Our members are first, always. But we did reserve the time for the Innu people. So I thank you for your attention. Now I'll go off for everything. Take care.